And now, talking about wellness and healthiness of the planet, healthiness of relations, we would like to talk about how our health is related with the health of the environment. So I would like to ask Camilla di Pasquasio from Strobilo to join me and to explain us what Strobilo is doing and what we are measuring and we have been measuring in these days. There's been a lot, maybe you have seen some sensors around, maybe you have not. Camilla, what were they and what are we doing here?
Thank you, Alessio, and good morning to everyone. Thank you for having me here in this amazing location and event. I'm Camilla di Pasquasio. I'm a psychologist, neuroscientist, and data scientist for Strobilo. Strobilo is a nature tech company that uses the most advanced technologies in the field of neuroscience to study the relationship between human beings and nature. Why is it important? Because in the last 6-7 decades of our existence, we start the great acceleration epoch of our life as human beings. And we start developing a lot. But this was hand in hand with, for example, increasing in CO2 levels and temperature of our Earth, but also with acidification of oceans. This also was hand in hand with our switch from a natural environment to an urban environment. And this led us to be a more artificial species than a natural one. This worsened a lot our psychological and impaired our mood a lot. So we decided to find a relation because we are not lowly human. We live in a context, we interact with our other human beings, and we morally interact with our environment. And these three layers of analysis, as you can maybe imagine, are very complex level of evaluation. So we decided to start to quantify this complexity. How do we do it? We have an environmental sensor that is a data logger that is capable of measure 15 different environmental dimensions real time. For example, the CO2 levels, temperature, humidity, and so on. But we also have the human component because we want to measure the human behavior and the reaction of our brain, of our behavior to different contexts and situations. To do so, we use our device that is an EEG, electroencephalogram, that is a neuro tool, and we use it to amplify the signal and the communication between our neurons. And we know that our brain communicates with electrochemical signals, but this signal is not visible, of course. So we decided to amplify it with our EEG to obtain some metrics. These metrics are frequencies that are known in scientific literature to be associated with some mental processes and mental states and emotion. For example, we can say that we have these waves called theta waves that are common of, for example, meditation and mindfulness processes. Or we know that beta waves are linked to, for example, cognitive workload and cognitive effort while we're doing a certain task. So we decided to analyze how the brain works in different environmental conditions. For example, we have yesterday we had a clear example of that because we measured how nature can be a medicine for our brain. We know from scientific literature that nature can reduce stress, can improve our mood, can improve also our immunity profile, and it's incredible. So it has many benefits that we decided to experiment it with in different contexts. For example, we had this experimental procedure yesterday while we were seeing the girl that was looking at the sunset. And we saw clearly that there were an activation of theta parietal waves. I don't know if someone knows that, but I don't think so. These are some waves that are related to our process of recalling happy memories. or also in meditation and in deep relaxation states. We also saw, for example, that she has a deep gamma activation. The gamma activation is when our brain is very, very connected. So there's an interhemispheric connection in all our brain. Another curious situation was that when we decided to ask something to the girl, so making her doing a mental effort in that, we could see clearly the beta waves activating. So she was basically doing a cognitive effort, and it was a real-time effect. So another beautiful example for me, because our device has many applications. It's not only about regenerative environments, but it's also about, for example, food. We had here in Polica 1 year ago exactly, if I remember well, this experimental design with 3 different kinds of oils. We have the great distribution oil, the middle average oil, and after we have the oil that is produced here with zero impact, biological, and sustainable in a sustainable way. The curious fact is that we decided to record not only the brain response, but also the subjective response of people. So we asked them, which oil do you prefer? The answer was that there wasn't a clear difference between these 3 products. But when we decided to record the brain response, we saw a clear difference in which the brain could perceive, because we had a way higher levels of, for example, engagement when we were trying the Polica oil, but also a greater relaxation processes. And this is amazing because this teach us the importance of disseminating and educating people on what they're eating and how they can, I don't know how to say it, but how our brain can really make the difference. And our service is basically for people and business owners and organizations and policymakers that are really interested in doing scientific-based choices based on our brain, based on our environment, and how we can put these 2 complex variables in interaction and doing affordable prediction for a better future and to recover our ancient relationship with nature that we lost nowadays.
Thank you, Camilla. Thank you, Camilla. Thank you for sharing these insights and to show us how really the brain can tell the difference between natural products and non-natural products, and either also when we are not able to tell the difference anymore, or we are not able to tell the difference about a healthy environment or an unhealthy environment because we lost the connection with nature, to go back to what Anthony was saying too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Camilla. Of course, I'm going to bring the microphone to you.
Thank you very much. My name is Gerda Verburg, and I'm the coordinator of a Scaling Up Nutrition movement, working with 65 member countries to end all forms, or prevent or end all forms of malnutrition in a sustainable way. So it's combining climate and food. The brains are telling a different story than the secondary or the subjective reactions of people. How do you reconnect brains with what people experience and what they express?
Okay. So the question is how we reconnect people with our brain and our natural state?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That I think can happen to different layers, because, for example, we can educate people to taste, as yesterday Peter explained, I think, in a very good way, but we also can recollect us with our environment in order to project and to create more sustainable spaces and more comfortable spaces. For example, we're working with biophilic design in the last years, and it's incredible because we saw that even if we, I don't know, we spend 90% of our time, our lifetime in indoor spaces. And that causes like mental stress, but also cognitive dysfunction. Because we had this test in this co-working space where we tested the effect of CO2 and the space on testers, and it was incredible because they had the same like education state, they have the same everything, so they were comparable 100%, but depending on the CO2 levels, the performance in the cognitive assessment was totally different. The points they earned to each task was completely different. So, what's the point? The point is that if we project more spaces that are more, I don't know, nature-like, that can restore our sense of connecting with nature, our brain will be happy for that. Will be maybe less comfortable, yes, but will be more happy.
Yeah. Yeah, but in the lockdown, young people, but also everyone, including me, was less comfortable. But by nourishing yourself well, having a walk outside, eating well, not too much, not too fat, not too salty, etc. Did you also measure this? And what are the lessons we can learn from this?
Yeah, sure. We studied the effects, for example, of running activity on the brain. And it was surprising because there was an increase, for example, in focus and relax, but also in cognitive workload because we have mental states, but they're more lucid. We're like in a consciousness flow, but is I don't know, very logical. If you ever try to run, for example, you will notice it. So, and for food is the same because, for example, as I explained before, we subjectively do not really know the difference, but our brain do because we are natural animals. And we are animals. Even if we decided to have a distancing from nature, we are part of it. So, of course.
Let's say, just to add something on top of that, because we're working with them and with Andrea Bariselli, who's the founder of Strobilo since many, many years. What we're trying to do here is really to try to identify the algorithm of longevity. So, keep this. They're doing, so what's going to be the effect of living here, experiencing this place, this sunset, this sunrise, and this kind of way of living, plus all the sensors that are grabbing all the data from the environment. And over there is a room with the Mediterranean Mind Lab, because we would love to do like a kind of an upgrade of the 7-country studies, really identify what's the algorithm of longevity. So this is actually what we are doing behind the scene with them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Grazie.